Hi, how are you? Welcome to our knowledge sharing session. Today's topic is about from physical server to cloud function. These are the areas that we are going to cover today. Before I continue today's knowledge sharing, I would like to share the goal of my knowledge sharing session. Now, there are 3 stages of knowledge, okay? The last and the third stage is I know what I know, okay? This stage is very easy to understand now. You know what is Linux, you know what is a laptop, you know what is a server, so you know what you know, okay? Before you can reach into this stage, normally in second stage is the stage called I know what I don't know, okay? This also not hard to understand. You heard a term called quantum physics before, but you don't know it, right? So you don't know what is quantum physics. For example, you might heard of a VMware NXX, right? But you don't know what is it, right? You don't know what is VMware NXX, or even you know there's a term called edge computing, but you don't know what is edge computing, right? So this stage is you know what you don't know, right? But before all these 2 stages, we start with a stage called I don't know what I don't know. Maybe you have question like, what does it mean I don't know what I don't know, right? Let me give you an example. Do you know what is this? Anyone know what is this? You can type into the chat box if you know. Do you know what is this stick? I give you one more hint. Sous lightsaber. Maybe it look like, but not. Anyone heard of sous? This term sous. Okay. Yeah, Jack heard it before. Okay. So like Far East, you never heard of it. So you never know this works exists in the world, right? You don't know there's such thing called sous. So you are at the stage you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know this thing exists, you don't know, right? So what is sous? Sous is it was limited to the pros. Sous is a cooking technique that utilizes precise temperature control to deliver consistent restaurant quality result. High-end restaurant has been using sous vide cooking for years to cook food to the exact level of a doneness desired every time. The technique recently become popular for home cook with the availability of affordable and easy to use sous vide precision cooking equipment like this sous vide cooker. So this stick actually is a sous vide cooker, right? So with this sous vide cook, you can always cook your meat or veggie. Always is the same quality, same texture. It's always the same. Okay. So this is a sous vide, but not today's topic lah. So before I show you this stick, right, you don't even know there's such thing called sous vide, there's such thing called sous vide cooker, right? So before this, you are at the stage of you don't know what you don't know. After I show you this stick, now you're at the stage of you don't know sous vide, but you don't know this sous vide, how it works. You don't know this stick, how this stick is working. You don't know how to operate it. So you are at the stage you know you don't know. Okay, so my main goal of the knowledge sharing is to bring you from the first stage, you don't know what you don't know, to the second stage, you know what you don't know. Okay, but basically, whether you want to move forward from your second stage to the third stage is on your decision. For example, I show you this sous stick. It's all up to you whether you want to know more, maybe you Google it or whatsoever. That is up to your decision. Okay, it's all depends on your decision. I don't like to spoon feed people. Okay, for example, last session I show you, introduce to you what is Linux, what is a Linux distribution, and some common command. So in order for you to master Linux, there's still a long way to go, right? Fortunately, there are a lot of resources available online, and mostly are free for you to further explore and learning. So I will not have another session to discuss further discuss about Linux command line, right? My expectation is if you would like to learn more, you have to count on yourself, right? Get it? This is my main goal or main purpose of having knowledge session. I won't go deep into it. Okay, good. Now back to our knowledge session. Okay, what's wrong with the physical server? Yeah, maybe your guys still, I know your guys still have a lot of time need to deal with physical server, but for me, I can't remember when was my last time deal with a physical server. Most of the time I use cloud nowadays. Most of my clients also use cloud. Okay, what's wrong with the physical servers? Alright, in old day when we need a server to host a services, we will need to pick a CPU, what's RAM or hard disk size. Okay, this step is very troublesome because the server have their maximum capacity of RAM and hard disk. If you need to have a lot of RAM or a lot of hard disk, you need to pick higher model, right? After you decide on specification of the server, you need to get a quotation. Some company even need you to get 3 quotation from 3 different vendors for price comparison. Then after that, you need to raise PO. Once you receive the invoice, you raise a PO, you receive a, then the vendor give you invoice, then you ask the account department to make a payment. Then you sit back and wait for delivery. So normally this cycle will take you at least a month to complete, right? How about provision a virtual servers, right? Okay, we can see 1 click, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. 13 step. 13 step, less than 5 minutes, you can provision virtual server. This is an older version of the provision. Is you still have a visit to go through. The new version, there is just a form with a few 2-3 form, then that's it. You get a new virtual server. So one of the main reasons people stop using physical server is due to a long period of time to provision a server. This is a this one of reason. Nowadays we want things fast, so we prefer we use virtual server. Another problem with the physical server is the cost effectiveness. Okay, what does it mean? For example, you need 3 servers and the application cannot run together in the 3 servers. So very common. This is very common for development companies. The software development, they need 1 server for the production, 1 server for staging, another server for development. So as you can see here, all these servers are not fully utilized. Some are. This one is fully utilized, but not all this. Not these 2. Whereby if you are using the virtual machine, we just need a server. Oh, sorry. This always happen. I believe this is a bug of the marks of the Google slide. Okay. Oh. Hey, how come? Center view. Sorry for that. Okay, so as you can see the diagram, only the one server is fully utilized and the other two is not using fully utilized. So if we going to use a virtual servers, we just need to double up the spec. Then we will enough to host all three servers together, right? We are not only reduce the cost of one physical server, we buy one less server. In long run, we utilize less electricity because we only using one servers, right? Okay, in between Microsoft Hyper-V and VMware, I highly recommend VMware. Why? Okay, why? In the 2019 Gartner Magic Quadrant for the hyper-converged infrastructure, basically is a virtualization. VMware is the leader. Okay, you can see here, VMware is here, Microsoft is here. Okay. Maybe you don't know what is Gartner Magic Quadrant. You can Google it. Okay, GARTNER, Gartner. You will see what is it about. Okay, it do a lot of this kind of analytic. So in simple, VMware is the leader of the virtualization technology. That's why I highly recommend VMware. If you are using VMware and if you copy the virtual machine files, okay, basically all the virtual machine is a files. Okay, same goes for VMware, is a file. So if you copy it into an external hard disk, right? You copy into an external hard disk, and then you connect the hard disk to your laptop, which is having a VMware workstation running, right? You can start up the virtual machine right away without any additional hardware. So imagine if one day the server motherboard having problem or power supply having issue, and you have a backup of the virtual machine in your any place, and you don't have the same spec of the servers, all you need is install a laptop, get a laptop or desktop, install the VMware workstation, then you start your virtual machine from there. Okay, so and also VMware workstation, they got free version and also a paid version, so you can use both to start off your machine temporarily until you get servers, especially if like this kind of period, due to the shortage of the IC chip, you very difficult to server. So how? If you're all day, I think you just wait, or you need to reinstall the whole servers or whatsoever. But if you're using VMware, you just copy the files over, then you can start using it. You will be able to reduce your downtime a lot. Okay, that's the reason why I highly recommend VMware. Okay, before I end the virtualization era, although I highly recommend VMware, but I would like to introduce you this open source virtualization solution, Promox. Okay, Promox is a fully free. There's no paid version. Even you pay is paid for their supporting only. Okay, supporting solution, training solution. There's no paid version of the software. It's free, so you can play around with it. You can learn it. Okay. Although I think virtualization no longer worth to waste my time. Frankly speaking, I don't I don't further explore on the virtualization. But if you have faith in virtualization, I believe some of you might have faith in virtualization. You can explore this solution because it's free and open source. I see some data center are using it. I saw some people are start using it. Okay. By getting support from the community, I see this product is picking up. Okay. So yeah, if you have faith in virtualization, maybe you want to explore this. Okay. So far, anything you want to say or any question? Okay. Okay, since the virtual server sounds so good, right? Why we want to move to the cloud? Okay, in virtual servers, the capacity of the virtual server is still limited by the server hardware, right? If the physical server has only 4 GB RAM, theoretically the virtual machine can't have memory more than 4 GB RAM. Okay, if you need to have more virtual machine more than 4 GB RAM, you will need to add more RAM into the physical server. And that same goes for the CPU and the hardware. So imagine if your server is old model, you will have a tough time to locate the components. I think nowadays when you deal with the servers, you still feel the same pain, right? Whereby cloud virtual server, it can grow with your company business, right? You don't need to spend a lot of money to start a big machine. You can start very minimum, like one CPU, 500 GB of RAM. You can start with that when your company is small. So you just pay very little money. And T2 Nano, I believe, is a free, if not mistaken. So you can use a free server until your business is grow. Right, you can expand your server accordingly. You can have a larger server with a 32 GB RAM and a CPU. But this is not the largest you can have. The largest instance you can get in AWS Cloud is a X1 instance. Come with 128 core, 2 TB RAM, 2 piece of 2 TB SSD. Okay. It's very hard to get these sizes of a physical machine. If you manage to find one, you let me know which model is that. It's very hard to get this first thing. Imagine if you need this kind of CPU, this kind of RAM to do a simulation, to do a calculation, you need to buy it. I tell you, this hardware will be very expensive. So you imagine you buy it, few million, and put in the office, do nothing, only need once, is very waste of money. So with virtual machine, you can start it up, use it, and stop it and delete it. That's it. So you just pay for the hour you use it. That's it, right? Or days you use it, which save a lot. That's why you can grow and you can have things very fast. Okay. For virtual server, after you provision the virtual machine, you still need to install the host OS, and wait till you finish install the host OS like CentOS. You still need to install all the services that you need, like DB, web server, app server. But in AWS, you just need to pick all these services and click a few clicks, and you get all the services you want. It's as easy as you do a grocery shopping. Okay, this is a list of services that you can get from AWS, and this list is still growing. If you can get the latest list from the AWS website, right? For example, if you need a virtual machine, AWS has a EC2. They call it EC2, but basically it's a virtual machine, so you don't need to worry not enough resources for your servers. You need a storage S3, right, where you store all your files. You need a DB. AWS has a RDS. If you need authentication or Active Directory, AWS have directory service. You need CDN. AWS got CloudFront. You need machine learning solution. They have you can set up the machine learning in 5 minutes, right? If you need if you are developing mobile apps, you can have a mobile hub where it can help you to build and test your mobile apps more automatically in the cloud, right? If after you develop your apps, mobile apps, you want to test it, right? Most in old day we need to buy the device, we need to buy the mobile phone, we need to buy the iOS, but AWS has the device farm for you to test it. You can test your Android or iOS app on the real device in the cloud. Okay, if you need an API gateway, you can get it from AWS as well. Okay, to get all these services, you don't need to install anything. You just need a few clicks, less than an hour, depends on what you want. Some are just a 5 minutes, some less than an hour. You able to start using it, and you don't need to install anything. So virtualization is good, right? But cloud even better. That's why people move to cloud. There are a lot more we need to cover in the cloud, so I decided to have another session on focus on the cloud topic. So now it's very popular for company using container to make the IT solution more cost effective, better performance, and handle more workload. Okay, so that's why now a lot of company push forward the IT solution using container solution. In old days, when we are using physical server, one common issue that we are facing is a dependency health. What is dependency health? For example, application 1 only work with library version 1, right? Application 2 only work with library 2, and these two cannot coexist together. So we try to solve this problem by having 2 physical servers, right? But I say in the previous slide, this kind of solution is not cost effective because both apps might not fully utilize the server. So we go with virtualization, right? So now we run 2 different, using one hardware, but 2 different version of apps. But still, there are some wastage in the virtualization. As you can see, these 2 apps, they need to run their own same copy of the Windows, right? For example, we know Windows 10 easily 1 gig of installation. So in 2 same apps, you need to waste 2 1 gig OS, right? And also there is a lot of background services are not necessary running background, so you wastage of the disk space, you wastage of the RAM and CPU processor. So the container look like a virtual machine, okay, but the OS can squeeze a lot, and there's no extra services running at the background for the OS in the Docker image. The theory is very basically the container theory is kind of a virtualization. Okay, it's kind of virtualization, but it's much more smaller. Okay. Each virtual machine have their own. Each virtual machine, even they have a same version of the OS, they will using different storage, right? Like I say, if you have 3 Windows 10 here, then you will have 3 1 gig installation here, so it utilize a 3 gig. Okay, but because of the Docker container, I using AUFS. Okay, AUFS is a layer file server, so you can have a read-only parts and write part which are merged together. One could have the common parts of the operating system as a read-only, and share amongst all your container, and then give each container own mouth for writing. Okay, so like you can see here, even the Docker, the OS layer in this is referring to a in a Docker environment. These three OS are the same, assuming, so they are using the same disk space. Because you are not changing the OS, you are make use of the same version of OS. They only one copy. Each of these different library, they use their own disk space, different disk space. So you save a lot. So with Docker and AUFS, you can share the bulk of a 1 gig between all the container. And if you have 1,000 container, let's say you have 1,000 containers with the same OS, actually you might still only need to have a little bit of over 1 GB of disk space for the container. Okay, assuming they are running all the same OS. So even 1,000 containers, but if you are using one single OS, so you only utilize one time. Any question? Understand here? Everyone okay? Okay, no one type in the, no one raise your hand, then I'm assuming you are okay. Then I move on. Okay, for example, this is our server. I think Jack sent you the login that you can log in a lot of services like the books, all those things, Nextcloud, all those things are in one server. Okay, so for example, this is our server, so we are running one Postgres, 2 MariaDB, and 1 SQL server database at the same time. Okay, so you can see here, even we have 2 MariaDB, we don't have a port config issue. Okay, you can see here, so we can run as many as we want, but we don't need to worry about port config, all those things. And what is the best is, even we run so many services here, the servers only has utilized 8 GB of RAM. Okay, so it's very cost resources effective. Why I bring this container to you is because the servers that I set up for us, our product lah, is not only run on Linux, it's also run on container, run inside the container. Okay, if you are the developer before, if you're development software before, you might face this kind of situation, right? Everything work fine on your laptop, okay, or on your desktop. When you're doing development, everything is working fine. But once you deploy it to the production, the application is not working, right? This could be due to the OS different or some library different. A lot of possibility of the root cause, and very difficult to troubleshoot most of the time. Okay, but if you develop an application using your workstation and test it in the Docker environment that you install on your Windows desktop, if you pass the Docker image to your team member who had the Docker installed in his MacBook, the application will run flawlessly. After he deployed the Docker image into a staging Ubuntu server, okay, which also have a Docker environment, the application will run as usual. Okay, at last, you deploy the Docker image into a production server, which is a Red Hat server. No doubt it will run without any issue. Okay, Docker can run on Windows, Mac OS, and all the majority of the Linux distribution. So your apps develop once, and you can run on all these backend. Okay, whenever you heard of a container, you will heard another term called Kubernetes, right? Most of the time they come together. So what is Kubernetes? Commonly referred as a K8S, alphabet K. numeric number 8 and another alphabet S for Singapore. So you see the term KS or Kubernetes are the same thing. Okay, Kubernetes is an open source system for automatic deployment, scaling, and management of the containerized application that was originally designed by Google. And Google donate this piece of software to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. It's aimed to provide a platform for automating deployment, scaling, and operation of application container across cluster of hosts. It supports a range of container tools, including Docker. Okay. Maybe after I talk so much, you might still ask what it does, what Kubernetes does. So whenever we install a Docker service, each host are managed separately. Okay, each host are managed separately. They can't talk to each other. When you have container field here, you can't migrate over or you can't copy over, right? You have to do it manually. Now with Kubernetes, you can manage all of them together by having a master node. So with this master node, Kubernetes master node, you can ask this copy to here, here copy to there, and etc. For example, once you have a Kubernetes cluster in place, now you can auto scale based on your policy. You can, one services not enough, you can have more container to serve the same services. So you can scale it. You can even replicate it, auto replicate to another host, so that let's say this host is only can run 3 containers. Now you want to further scale it. Kubernetes can help you to copy it to another host and run 3 more. So now you got 6 container service the same services. Okay, so you can have an auto replicate. Once the image is replicated, it can fire up additional container at the second host to help you scale up further. If any of the container has failed, right, the Kubernetes will automatically help you to restart the container, so it can auto help healing. You got a auto healing features. When the container is filled, it can automatically restart and bring it up. So with Kubernetes and container, you can have a auto scaling, auto replication, and auto healing. Can you guess the largest Kubernetes deploy? Some hint for you. These apps, right, estimately, okay, when before it launched, it target these numbers of the traffic one time lah. It thought, maybe it will be very popular, so it can get up to 5 times of the traffic if it get very popular. But in actual, once they launch, they release and launch, they get 50 times of their estimate. 50 times of the estimate traffic. Do you know which apps is this? Any idea? It's a very famous mobile apps or mobile games. No one want to guess? Okay, this is a bad thing about doing online knowledge sharing, because if in the meeting room I will say, if you can, whoever can try, I will give you a small gift, but I can't give you in the virtual meeting. Okay, no problem. Actually, it's a Pokemon Go. Okay, Pokemon Go initially they thought only got 10 people using. Example, not the real fact lah. It thought they might have a 10 user playing, so it thought the worst case is a 50 user using, but the real case when they launched, they got 500 user using. So how they can cope with this kind of skill? 50 times, you see. You imagine you buy one server, you thought you to serve one user. The worst case, only 5 users using. At the end, is 50 users is using. How they can scale? Okay. So Pokemon Go run on GKE. Okay. Google Container Engine powered by Kubernetes. Okay. In order to support so many players globally, right? Google provision many tens of thousands of core for the container cluster. It also rely on the Google Cloud Data Store. Okay, that's how it can handle this many of users. Google Cloud Data Store is a NoSQL database. It's highly scalable NoSQL database for application. The Google Cloud Data Store automatically handle the sharing and replication, providing the apps with a highly available and durable database that scale automatically to handle the application load. Okay, so you can see with Kubernetes, you can scale as large as you want or need. So when like of course now Pokemon the heat go down, not many user already, not many player as initial launch lah, but you can see with container with Kubernetes together, you don't need to worry how to scale it because it will scale automatically and it can scale these numbers. Imagine Pokemon Go. Okay, VMware have a lot of other solutions, so they are good also. So but at here I need to highlight that we are comparing between VMware virtual servers and the Dockers. Okay, as you can see, Docker offer enterprise level of features without any cost and require smaller footprint. That's why it's very popular for those heavy load service. With Docker, we can squeeze many more services into one server. Okay, we are just scratching the surface of the Docker container, and we will have another session which focus on the Docker container. There are still a lot for us to explore. Okay, that's why Docker become so popular, because you can see all this in a way enterprise level of features. You don't need to pay at all, whereby in VMware virtual server, you want to auto scale, auto replication, all this you need to pay. Okay, you need to pay for cluster services. There's an enterprise, and there's no auto recover. They can't, in a way, VMware cannot monitor the services running in the server and restart for you. You need additional tools. But whereby Docker, the auto recover, they are monitoring the services itself, not the OS. They are monitoring the services itself. If it die, it can auto recover. Okay, so this is the difference. And Docker is an open source. There's no paid level, there's a paid version and the free version, but the paid version and the free version, the code are the same. Only the paid version, they offer you more features in terms of on top of the Docker itself. Okay, there's no performance gain or nothing. Okay, so that's why I see Docker is picking up rather than VMware is picking up. But it doesn't mean, like I say, it doesn't mean VMware is going away. But you can see VMware will go behind end user, because like AWS, all this, they're still running on virtualization. Of course, AWS use their own virtualization, but a lot of smaller cloud provider, they are making use of a VMware cloud solution. and also a lot of self-host crowd, right? They can make use of for self-host crowd, they can make use of the VMware cloud solution as well. But virtual server itself, where I'm referring here, is a virtual server itself is slowly will less important. Okay. Okay, last but not least, I call this is a postpaid server. In Google, it call it cloud function. AWS name it as Lambda. Okay, why I call it postpaid server? Okay, what is a cloud function or Lambda? It is a cloud server service which charge based on utilization. If you don't use it, you will not get charged, and you don't need to worry about the capacity of the server because it's always auto scale. Okay, you can see here in cloud function they charge transaction 2 million per month free. Then after that 40 cents per million of 40 cents per million of the request. Same thing here. And in AWS Lambda is 1 million request 20 cents. Okay. Memory also the same. A charge based on how many times you use the memory and how big the memory you use. Okay. So what's the difference between this and just now we talked about the virtual server in cloud. The virtual server in cloud, you still need to provision a CPU, provision a RAM. Whether you use it or not, you still charge you monthly, right? But in cloud function or Lambda, it's a postpaid style. You don't use it, you provision the services, so-called you run the services on it. But let's say no one are using it, they are running, don't get me wrong, the services are running, but there's no transaction happen, then it's no charge at all. Okay, so it's a postpaid style. The server is postpaid style, where you use it only you pay, otherwise you don't need to pay anything, and it's always auto scale. It's always auto scale. You don't need to think, oh, I need more CPU, I need more RAM. No, they will do the thing for you. And again, it's based on charge, right? I highlight here is it charge based on utilization. It's a postpaid style. Okay. Okay, I know I had introduced a lot of new things to you. I strongly advise you to explore them by yourself because these technology are not future technology. They are very popular now in overseas and MNC. If you never heard of them before, you will need to explore further and harder because you will need them to face your upcoming challenge. Okay. This will be the end of the knowledge sharing session. Scan this QR code if you would like to have a copy of this slide. Okay, if you need it lah. So anything else you want to ask or you want to discuss?